man, there's some interesting stuff. So I haven't commented yet on the Eric Adams situation.
Yeah.
But we have, some more information on it. I'm gonna let you lay it out, and then we'll react to it.
Yeah. So last night, we're recording this on Thursday. Last night, we found out he had been indicted. There have been multiple investigations, 4 different federal investigations swirling around his administration. He's had 4 high-level officials in his administration resign. He himself was already, before these indictments, facing pressure from AOC and others to resign. Now he has been indicted, and we just now, moments ago, had the indictment unsealed. So we can tell you some of the details here, and they go back years. So this goes back actually to his time as Brooklyn Borough president and continues basically into his mayoral campaign. He's been indicted on federal charges of bribery, conspiracy, fraud, and soliciting illegal foreign campaign donations. I haven't had time to read through the entire indictment, but it looks like there are several things that they're alleging. Number one, they're saying that he was taking in foreign cash, which you're not allowed to do, and using straw donors to conceal the actual origin of this cash. Through this straw donor scheme, he also defrauded New York City, which has a public financing scheme where if you get in a certain number of low-level contributions, then they match up to a certain point. So because he was, fraudulently recording these campaign donations, he also defrauded the city and basically effectively stole money from them in the form of this public matching finance. He also, this part was kind of reported before, so some of the money was coming from Turkey, the Turkish government, and then once he became mayor, he leaned allegedly on the fire department to approve this building that the Turkish government was erecting. It was like a consular building in Midtown Manhattan, even though it really was facing like safety concerns and was not in technical compliance with the code. And so he put pressure on the fire department to deliver this favor for the Turkish government after they funded his campaign. He also accepted a bunch of lavish trips, hotels, gifts, etc., him and his cronies, also from the Turkish government. So that's some of the details that emerge in this indictment. He, of course, denies that he did anything wrong.
So is it just Turkey? It's not just Turkey, right? Aren't there other countries as well that are listed in it? I'm trying to pull it up right now. I saw somebody allude to it earlier.
Turkey is the primary government that I see named here. It says he received free or discounted Turkish airline flights to France, Turkey, China, India, and Hungary, among other destinations. But I think that allegedly it all came from the Turkish government. I haven't seen any specifics yet that indicate there were other countries involved. But as I said, I haven't had a chance to read the entire indictment to be sure.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to do it yet either. As Crystal said, it literally just came out before we got on air here. But somebody was speculating... Turkey, Israel, China, Qatar, Uzbekistan, South Korea. so I don't know if that's actually in the indictment or not. Again, I have to read it. But either way, let me ask you this, Crystal. So it is the case that using straw donors to accept foreign money, that is illegal, correct?
Yes.
And does it make a difference if it's a foreign individual versus a foreign government? Are both of those things illegal?
I believe both of those things are illegal.
Okay.
But it may, this was for New York City. So I'm pretty sure it's illegal across the board, and these are federal charges. But certainly if you're concealing donors and if you're taking government money, that's definitely, and not disclosing it, and again, this was into the campaign, that's 100% illegal. I'm pretty sure if it's foreign nationals in general, it is. I know it is at the federal level. I'm just not sure 100% if that's across the board or if like in a city-wide race like this it is as well.
Do you realize how sloppy you have to be in contravention of U.S. campaign finance laws? Like, that's the thing I don't think people really understand, is that with multiple Supreme Court decisions, we have effectively legalized bribery in this country, but there's certain like proper pathways you have to go through in order to take it legally, right? And for you to be in contravention of those laws, I mean, it's just like, it's an extra level of stupid. Like, you have to be really, really dumb to not follow the proper pathways, right?
Yeah, so I have it here. Federal law prohibits contributions, donations, expenditures, including independent expenditures and disbursements solicited, directed, received, or made directly or indirectly by or from foreign nationals in connection with any federal, state, or local election. So across the board, this is, the thing with our campaign finance law is it's like a sieve. I mean, if you know the loopholes, you can do almost anything you want. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you need a good lawyer who knows all the loopholes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, but there are some tripwires that if you cross, like, they can come at you. But one of the really clear bright red lines that, you can't really get around is you can't take money from foreigners or foreign governments at any level. So the allegation here is he's getting a bunch of money in from Turkey and doing favors for him. And, accepting these opulent trips and whatever, that this is a long-term ongoing scheme. And by the way, this isn't the only federal investigation. This has been ongoing now for 3 years. They seized the phones of his chief fundraiser, et cetera, quite a while ago. This isn't even the only investigation that is surrounding Eric Adams' administration. He has had 4 different high-level officials resign, including his police chief, who was caught in a scandal, again, allegedly, where his twin brother was running some nightclub security business. The twin brother of the police chief had been forced out of the police department previously for corrupt dealings. And he was effectively going around to these nightclubs and it's like, oh, you got a code violation? Let me help you with that. You just got to pay my firm and I'll make it go away. And so that obviously he was going to his brother, make this go away. And so that was the allegation there. There's others swirling around, which is why even before this moment, he was being pressured to resign by, among others, the New York City public advocate, Jumaane Williams, who, if Eric Adams resigns, would be the acting mayor until there was a new election, a new special election that was called. But AOC had just come out just before this indictment dropped and called on him to resign. She's looking very prescient now. And by the way, his response to AOC basically intimated that she was racist. And that's why she was coming after. I mean, he all but came out and said that. In his response, this was before the charges were unsealed. So we don't yet have his response to the official, indictment and actual details of the charges. But before the charges were unsealed, he posted a little video in which he alludes to, he basically alleges that the deep state is out to get him because he was standing up against the migrant crisis, which the right is loving and some elements of the right are actually buying into, which is insane. But let's take a listen to what Mayor Adams had to say about this.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit. If I'm charged, I know I am innocent. I will request an immediate trials so the New Yorkers can hear the truth. I have been facing these lies for months since I began to speak out for all of you and their investigation started. Yet the city has continued to improve. Make no mistake, you elected me to lead this city, and lead it I will. I humbly ask for your prayers and your patience as we see this through. God bless you, and God bless the city of New York.
So he says it's all lies.
So he was alluding to the immigration thing?
Yeah, he talks about it in part of the clip.
You're
he
kidding me.
Specifically talks about the migrant crisis.
The person who I saw first put that out there was Jack Posobiec.
Oh my God.
The end wokeness dude. Okay, this has happened a number of times now with Bob Menendez. This same thing happened.
Him too.
Soon as there were charges against Bob Menendez, it was, deep state, bro, going after Bob Menendez, bro. So if you're a Democrat, the way to get MAGA to like you is just be a criminal.
Commit a crime.
Commit crimes, and they'll be like, bro, this guy's persecuted,
deep state,
bro.
Am I right? Yeah. Oh, it's pathetic. There is something really different here too with, we just had the Mark Robinson scandal. It's not criminal what he did, but I mean, he called himself a black Nazi and was like, actually, slavery's good. I wish I owned some slaves myself and wish they'd let me in the KKK so I could, you know, use racial slurs against Martin Luther King, like wild stuff that he said. And you don't see any, I saw one Republican unendorse him. One. Brian Kemp of Georgia.
Kemp, yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even leading up to that, even before those revelations, there were all kinds of wild things that he had said, Holocaust denial and all kinds of stuff at a moment the Republicans are supposed to be all against anti-Semitism. And they just circle the wagons. Like, they just don't. Democrats will not stand by this guy. Democrats did not stand by Bob Menendez. And so I would not be at all shocked if Eric Adams, being the sort of, you know, savvy enough political operator to have become mayor of New York City, reads the political landscape and is like, oh, Democrats are going to be done with me. If I want any sort of a future national voice in politics, the right will welcome me with open arms, right? He's an ex-cop, you know, he ran on the whole, like, I'm going to crack down on crime and let's fund the police and all that. And, you know, really being extremely adversarial to the left. He did all that. That's how he got elected. And so I know that they'd take him in if he decides to make that total pivot.
So a few things. I don't think the ADL said anything about Mark Robinson and his black Nazi comments.
It tells you everything.
Well, yeah, because the second anybody on the left utters like, hey, free Palestine or something, like, anti-Semite!
Oh,
this guy's like, I'm a black Nazi. And they're like,
the whole Rashida Tlaib thing,
totally
which
fine.
was made up.
Well, I was just going to get to that. So AOC went after the ADL for lying about Tlaib. She also, you know, sort of slyly went after CNN for the same thing. And then the ADL head, Greenblatt, went after AOC and turned the fucking replies off on Twitter.
Oh, my God.
Knowing that everybody was going to be like, fuck you, you fucking lying smear merchant. Because they literally, CNN, Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, Greenblatt from the ADL, they all just lied and made up a quote from Tlaib and said, she said that this woman being Jewish is why she's going after pro-Palestine protesters. She said nothing of the sort. Not even close.
Yeah.
They read it into that and then lied about it. And then when they got called on it, they backpedaled slightly, but then Greenblatt doubled down. So AOC went after the head of the ADL, and then she also called for Adams to step down. Mm-hmm. And so within a 1 or 2 day period, she racked up a couple real quick W's there.
Yeah.
Fox News was bragging. They had this post about, like, Eric Adams fires back at AOC and says this. So in other words, Fox News was taking the side of Eric Adams. And Eric Adams at the time was like, there aren't even any charges against me, bro. Why is she calling for me to step down, bro?
Literally, like
hours later, boom,
later.
charges. And the Fox tweet was still up there.
Oh,
so
man.
a couple quick W's for AOC. But by the way, a couple other points. I'm noticing there's a lot of illegal Turkish money in U.S. politics. Michael Flynn, the reason he went down was because he was an unregistered agent for Turkey.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
You also have that story of... and this one, to be fair, I think Bill Barr nipped it in the bud when he was at the Department of Justice. But Trump allegedly took a $10 million bribe from Egypt in, like, the final days of the 2016 campaign, like literal direct cash bribe. And I believe it was the DOJ or the FBI or somebody was investigating that, and then somebody put the axe on it, and we're like, we're not going into this. This is like a witch hunt, politically motivated, et cetera. But there's been reporting on that. And then, of course, with Menendez. I think it was Egypt, and then it was some other countries too, right? I think Egypt was the main one, but I think there were some others. But by the way, take note, guys.
That's where the gold bars were coming from.
When the Department of Justice or the FBI or whatever prosecutor decides to go after Hunter Biden, Bob Menendez, Eric Adams, and other Democrats who may have committed crimes, the response from Democrats, liberals, and leftists is, yeah, it sounds about right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys seem pretty fucking criminal. Like, we'll look at the details and specifics, but yeah that sounds about right.
Go after them. Get them.
91 criminal charges against Trump, and now that number's going up, by the way, because of what's happening in Springfield. But everybody on the right immediately, fake news, witch hunt, witch hunt! Mm-hmm. And I think it just genuinely shows a difference in the seriousness and the intellectual capacity of one side versus the other. I mean, there is no remotely like, they're the same, bro, or they're like similar, bro. As you pointed out, you got a guy who said he's a black Nazi and was talking about how he wished he owned slaves and he wished he was in the KKK and was talking about lubing up his wife's sister's asshole with piss. And all of them are looking at it like, all right, we're going to let it slide.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and let that slide. Still going to vote for him. Not going to say anything. And even Trump, they quietly cut ties with him where they're like, you're not allowed at our rallies anymore, but we're not going to release a statement or say anything. Like this is the difference. This is the difference.
One of the test cases on the right was, is his name Roy Moore? The
pedo.
The pedo dude. And there was, a lot of credible information this guy was a pedophile, right? And there started to be Republican elite backlash against it. And the Republican base was not having it. They were furious that the Republican elites were throwing him under the bus or backing away from him or whatever. And so now in the Trump era, given that he sets the narrative about this is all fake and this is just a deep state plot, et cetera, it just means that anything that comes against, anyone they can be convinced to they'll just dismiss out of hand, and they'll be enraged if you buy into it and see you as part of the, the deep state plot effectively. So
final point on this, I'm sure there's not 758,000 examples of the government of Israel using straw donors to donate to every politician in the fucking country. My guess is
it's in plain sight. It's called AIPAC.
There's yeah, but I bet they even do literally the same thing that happened in this Eric Adams case where they have the IDF or the government of Israel proper cutouts. Gives to straw donors and the straw donors give to politicians across the spectrum. And I bet that number is in the fucking billions. The tens of billions of dollars, because that's what Israel does. But we need to get to our next story because we got another one before.
Just really quickly, one last note is that this could open up the door for Andrew Cuomo to make his political comeback, because he's been running for New York City mayor. And so he may throw his hat in the ring. And the other thing is that there is a theoretical possibility of Kathy Hochul invoking some almost unprecedented powers that the governor of New York has that hasn't been used since FDR was governor of New York, to remove him from office because of his criminal charges. So anyway, a lot of questions about it.
Interesting.
Where this goes from here.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Trump. Yep. So somebody got in Trump's ear and told him, hey man, Iran is trying to kill you. Iran is trying to assassinate you. I saw a couple articles that indicated that this is a serious threat. Now, let's think about what's happened recently, right? You had a registered Republican, Groyper-adjacent incel type who tried to go after Trump, even though his ear looks fine, but I digress. Then you also have the second assassination attempt was a guy who was basically just a paranoid schizophrenic. Yes, he was very pro-Ukraine, but he was also very pro-Taiwan. He was very anti-homelessness. He had called for a Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley ticket. He had donated to Andrew Yang and others. He was all over the fucking place. The guy was a mess, right? So basically, one psycho and one Groyper, that's who tried to kill Trump. But now, somebody in our government is saying, hey, Trump, Iran is trying to assassinate you. Now, I'll get to my theory on this in a little bit as to why I think they're running with this narrative.
Yeah.
But Trump, here's his reaction to this. I mean, he is just hook, line, and sinker. He's fallen for it, and now he's talking about it nonstop. So he comes out the other day and tweets the following. Big threats on my life by Iran. The entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work out. Is he alluding to the other assassination attempt when he says that?
Or it could be the hacked documents.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, there's a lot to say about that, too.
Yeah, there is a lot to say about
that. But they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I am surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service, 0 no votes, strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker. So he comes out and says that. Should we comment real quick on the Iran thing?
Sure. Yeah. Well, you were alluding to so we were talking about the hacked documents thing with regards to this. So a bunch of different news outlets have been sent legit, things that have been verified as coming from his campaign that they think may have come from an Iranian hacker. And they just decided they're not going to report on it.
The entire media decided it is unethical to report on hacked documents.
Yeah.
Really? That's interesting. In 2016, you guys had the exact opposite take when it came to Hillary Clinton.
And
now
they
it's Donald
were
Trump.
right. And they were right. When it comes to things that, listen, if it's just personal bullshit, okay, no. But if it's newsworthy, and we know what some of the contents of the documents are, like the J.D. Vance, basically, oppo that they did on him before they put him on the ticket, That's extremely newsworthy. Like, did you know all these weird ass comments this dude is making and you still put him on the ticket? What did you think were going to be the issues for him? Obviously, those are newsworthy things. So it's just insane to me that they have this new standard, and it cuts directly against the idea from the right that the media is always just like completely biased against them.
And Trump was still attacking the media and Democrats over the hacked documents. When it's like, you fucking idiot, the media in unison decided we're not going to run these documents, even though we ran Hillary Clinton's internal documents that were hacked. So they're protecting you and you're still attacking them? He's just so dumb.
Yes.
But all right, so now let me show you. I got to show this video to you guys. So this Iran thing is on his mind. He is genuinely worried, probably because of the 2 previous assassination attempts. He's sitting there thinking, oh my God, is Iran going to attack me? And that's why he's like, I have a lot of guns around me. I have a lot of guns around me. And so he comes out, he was doing a rally speech, and he said this.
But if I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that. And there would be no more threats.
Mr. Anti-war there.
I'm going to blow your country to smithereens. We'll blow your country to smithereens. Okay. I mean, what do you even say about this, right? And all the people who pretend like he's anti-war, nobody's going to say anything. And by the way, I don't think it's true. I don't think Iran is on the brink of assassinating Donald Trump. I highly doubt that that's the case.
Yeah, same. What you have a theory about what you think is going on here.
But I absolutely blanked on it 5 seconds ago because my brain's not working today.
Well, your theory is that basically Israel wants to amp up the pressure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With regard to Iran, and plenty of actors in the U.S. government too always have, a hankering for some sort of big Iran war. So this further escalates the tension. They're the bad guys trying to assassinate your hero, the beloved Donald Trump. And for him, whether he believes it or not, I have no idea. But I think he sees it as much more sort of
he believes it.
He sees it as much more like elevating for him to be a target of official bad guy country like Iran than a couple of like weirdo crank psychopaths.
So right now, as we speak, Israel is just going crazy on Lebanon. They're attacking, they say Hezbollah in Lebanon. Really, they're just indiscriminately killing everybody in Lebanon, right? They just started doing that, and they just started ramping it up. And Netanyahu is publicly saying, I don't want to hear the word ceasefire about Gaza or Lebanon for the next 45 days. And, it's like, oh, wow, that's when the election is. How interesting, how curious. So they're already going on the offense against Hezbollah, right? And the U.S. has said, look, if need be, we'll jump in and fight on your side, right?
Yep.
And so we could get in a broader war with Hezbollah and Lebanon, and also at some point that could drag in Iran, because Iran has been rebuffing Hezbollah and saying, it's not the right time, we can't really attack Israel yet.
Well, they're trying not to give Israel what Israel clearly wants.
Which is that wider war.
Their adversary wants them to have a massive reaction that gives then Israel the excuse to go to war directly with Iran and drag us in. And so they're like, okay, well, if that's what they want me to do, let me try to not give them what they actually want.
But now we'd have what would be a justification if the U.S. were to say, guys, we got to go in, we got to fight Iran for Israel. They won't say that part, that is for Israel.
Right.
But we got to do it. Why? They tried to kill Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if a fake news story comes out that one of the 2 assassins, or both of them, were funded by Iran. I would not be surprised if a fake news story comes out where they claim they were funded by Iran. Because then the U.S. gets to say, no, we're not going to fight Iran for Israel.
Yeah.
We're going because they tried to assassinate Trump twice. That's an act of war. That's unacceptable. We got to defend him.
Yeah. I mean, neither one of these dudes seems like particularly recruitable assets for any
100%.
Cause or
there's
individual.
No deeper. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick one of them, the NATO Ukraine obsessive, who actually did some overseas travel and whatever, he might be the one that you could more squarely make a better case that he could have been a recruitable asset. But no,
recruitable asset by who?
By Iran. There's all, the CIA conspiracies, all that
The Ukrainian
stuff.
Forces were like, get this guy the fuck out of here. He's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, there were a bunch of other people who interacted with him that were like trying to blow the whistle on him about how
psycho he was. He's a psycho.
Yeah. So in any case, Mr. Anti-War, sounding very Dove-like in these new comments.
And fully zero of the fake anti-war grifters will bring this up and say, you know, I'm not in favor of threatening Iran with, quote, blowing them to smithereens.
Right.
They're
major cities
pretend,
in the entire country.
They'll just pretend like, bro, he's a dove still. Yeah, I'm ignoring his entire record and every fucking thing he's been saying on the campaign trail about Iran and Israel, where he wants to go to the right of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. He's anti-war, bro.
They already don't want to talk about what he did when he was president, which was to, you know, get out of the Iran nuclear deal and then also to assassinate Qasem
Soleimani and then move the Israeli embassy.
So he's always been very hawkish towards Iran.
Legally allow Israel to annex the Golan Heights. It's a whole list of shit that's just like pro-war, run by neocon garbage, and they don't care.
Neocon bullshit.
And they don't care. They'll pretend like, oh, he's against the neocons. RFK, every time he opens his fucking mouth, there's been a party realignment, and Donald Trump is anti-war and anti-censorship, even though he tried to do like 12 different versions of censorship, and even though he escalated every single fucking war we were in.
And even though RFK himself was saying the exact opposite thing, if you go back like 4 months.
That's exactly right. But you got to forgive him because he was a little disoriented because Olivia Nuzzi would not stop sending him news.
That's right.
And he was just like, bro, what's going on?
Geez, I hope he's okay. I'm sure that was really difficult for him.
Getting unsolicited nudes from a 31-year-old when you're a 70-year-old raisin, that's really tough. That's really difficult. He was crying at night in the fetal position.
He just didn't know what to do.
He was putting his head on his wife's shoulder like, please, make the nudes stop. Fucking clown.
I can't believe people believe that shit. They believe that shit.
I struggle to think that anybody believes it. You
some
disagree.
People freaking believe it.
But see, I just think they're lying. I think they're lying for RFK because they just like RFK. I don't think they actually think that. Yeah, a fucking 70-year-old horn dog is getting pictures from a 31-year-old. And he's like, oh, titties, oh. He's not doing that.
His staffer said something like, it was actually kind of scary or something like that.
It was scary.
And also, this is a dude who has a documented. He had like 38 different
affairs.
Mistresses in his phone. And, you know, this is his documented history. And you're like, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't him. I'm sure she just was obsessed with him because that's something that I've totally heard of happening in my life.
He also talked
about such
a
common occurrence.
This came out today. He apparently wrote in his diary that he was like, he felt like he was possessed by like sex demons. It's that Kennedy curse, man. That Kennedy curse.
They do have a lot of demons. They do have a lot of demons.
It goes 3 hours and he's got to run to the corner to beat off. That's the Kennedy curse. The libido is just through the roof.